Did you see I'm using my famous New Zealand knife this morning? You see that, Victor?
Yep.
Oh man, this is awesome. We got grafting chickens out here today. Look at this. Oh, that's great. Job always goes better when you have grafting chickens on site. Hello everyone, welcome back to All About Grafting. In today's video, we're going to be grafting some apple trees. You're going to see some chainsaw work, some wood prep. We're going to talk about something called callousing tissue and how to heal up the cut on the stump when you're doing the grafting, and also how to keep the tree from getting dieback in the years to follow. So put your seat back in the reclined position, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Well, as you can see, these trees were grafted before. This is the original stump here where we cut it the first time, and then this is the scion, and there's one, and here's one, and we probably put 5 on there. And that was, I counted the rings earlier, and that was 10 years ago that we grafted this. This was originally a Red Delicious, and we put on Honeycrisp, and now we're grafting the Honeycrisp over to Granny Smith. Honeycrisp to Granny Smith. And then we've got another block we're going to do. See here, you can see the original grafts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably we put 5 on there. That's a little bit of dieback in these trees. These trees are really old, and they're on their way out. But you know, if we can get 10 years out of them, that's probably they will last as long as the market does, because the market changes. Something good comes along and everybody jumps on it and starts grafting to a particular variety, and then they create a glut. So then they have to find something else, and everybody grafts that, and then they create a new glut, and we just keep on grafting. So job security, I guess. Anyway, there's the old stump. Yeah, so Victor and I put these on 10 years ago. Now put them on again, and when I'm grafting these orchards, I'm always driving around out back and just looking around and seeing what I can spot. And I usually spot something, and I've spotted this, and I know about this old truck. I've known about this old truck for a long time. And a friend of mine just lives across the street here, and he's known about this truck probably 30 years or more of its life here, sitting here. It's been here a long time. It was the fruit hauler for this particular property here. This was orchard. You see, they still got the sprinklers out here, the overhead sprinklers. So this was orchard at one time, and this was the truck that hauled the fruit from this orchard to the packing facility. And these old fruit haulers typically just don't get hardly any miles on them, because they only use them about 1 month out of the year. In summertime, you might use it once in a while to haul a tractor to another property, or go to town and get a load of irrigation pipe or something. But usually they only go to from the orchard to the packing facility, and that might be 10-12 miles, and usually it's not very far. This one's in really good shape. I'm sure it's got the old flathead. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that thing would run. You know what? This truck would fire up and run. It is complete. Still got battery in it over there. I bet you could have this thing running in an hour. So anyway, the neighbor was talking about this truck, and he's known it for a long time, and he knows that it never went very far in its life. Just hauled fruit from here to town. And he said at the most, he said it might have 50,000 miles on it. Well, it has 38,000 miles on it, and you know that hasn't rolled over, because all it's ever done is just haul a few bins of fruit from the orchard into town, because they don't take these things out on the freeway. You know, they don't go anywhere. They don't go to Seattle. They just go to town and back. 38,000 miles. Isn't that something? All right, I better get back to work, get on that chainsaw before Victor fires me. Oh, wait a minute. You know, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe I'll see if I can get fired today. Yeah, maybe I'll make that my mission. All right, good morning, world. How's everybody in Graft Land this morning? I'm about to cut down the final portion of this job. Victor's over on the block I cut yesterday, and we grafted, as I said before, we grafted these trees about 10 years ago. And you can see the graft union here. That old white tape that we use, and this is what I was talking about. This tape, it's special propagation tape that will not girdle. It will stretch and grow with the graft, and you don't have to worry about it choking off a limb. After it goes through a winter, it loses its elasticity and pretty much just falls off. So that's a good thing. Anyway, he left these limbs that were not grafting. He left them a little bit long, and I thought it was a pretty ugly job at first, but he explained why he's doing that. It's kind of interest. There's some dieback when these trees get older, like these are some pretty old dogs. We got some grafting chickens out here this morning. That's always a good thing. But when these older trees, you can see they start to get some dieback, and that's why we put enough grafts around a limb. Like a 5-inch limb would probably get at least 4 grafts. And the reason you want to do that is to heal up that stump. You see how this is died back because that was just a cut and it had no grafts on it. But this one we grafted, or the others we grafted. But you can see here what we did was put in 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think that's a sucker. But so that was probably a 5-inch diameter limb. We put 4 grafts on, and what that does, you have to have enough grafts on to allow this to bridge between the grafts. And you can see this calcium tissue that's built up here between the grafts, and that heals the stump up. If you only put 2 on there, this in one growing season, it wouldn't be enough time for this calcium tissue to bridge all the way from this graft over to this one. Oh, and a grafting cat as well. Boy, bonus, what a day. Yeah, what a good day we got going here. Grafting cats, grafting chickens. Wow. So yeah, this is really nice how that heals up. But the reason he's leaving this long, he told me yesterday, is because if they cut it short, it will continue to die back like this, and we don't want that. We're going to kind of arrest that. But if he leaves it long, then that gives it room to die back a little bit without getting all the way down into the stump. Hey kitty, hey buddy, how are you? Oh my goodness, what a nice kitty. Yeah, what a good kitty. Yeah. Okay, so there again, you got see, here's some calcium tissue, but there's no grafts on this, so it couldn't heal up all the way. It just couldn't make it all the way around. So if you got this dieback on this side, this poor old stump here, boy, it's on its way out, as all of these trees are. But the thing is, with the way the market is today, these trees will probably last as long as the market does. That's the goal anyway. So, you know, this tree's dying, but the grafts are kind of like a flower in a vase. They're going to live for a while, and if he can get 10 years out of these, that'll probably be the end of that market run anyway. So I think next time he'll just yank them out and plant something else. But yeah, they're good for one more round. I've grafted some trees more than 3 times. I've been at this for 43 years, so I've had an opportunity to graft the same block over and over sometimes. Anyway, just thought I'd show you that, how you have to put enough grafts on to heal up the stump and to get that calcium ring all the way around. Well, calcium tissue is just undifferentiated cells. When you put the graft on, these cells will differentiate into vascular cells, vascular veins, so it will feed the nutrients up through the cambium layer into the graft, as it did here and here. So he didn't need all these limbs, so he just cut part of the grafts off. But you can see how he kept them long, and that's a perfect example there. The dieback only went to here, but if he'd cut it off down here, then he would start getting dieback into the stump. So yeah, this guy's a good farmer. He knows what he's doing. We thought he was just doing an ugly job, But I said, well, Dan, turns out you actually know what you're doing, don't you? So he's been farming probably as longer than I've been grafting. And he's a good farmer. He's not a coffee shop farmer. He's out here. He's out here every day. He says, oh, I just can't wait to get out there every morning. But he's out here doing what a lot of guys would hire their help to do. He's out here doing it. He's out here mowing. He's out here spraying. He was spraying cherries over next to that block yesterday. So he knows what's going on in his orchard. If there's a sick tree out here, he will know about it personally. He drives by. He knows this orchard. He's on a first name basis with all these trees. Good farmer. We really like working with Dan Russell in Monitor, Washington. But I remember this job when we did this. Robo Frank, my friend Robo Frank from Snohomish had come over to help me out, and this was his first job, I think. It was either this one or the one I was talking about in one of my videos about him talking about what a good team we were. Anyway, funny story. That's on my Rat Rod channel. Wet'em Wires, Old Iron. Anyway, yeah, this job, I lost my butt on this job because these are old trees, and they used to put these, well, they still do sometimes, but they put these spreaders in, these tree spreaders. That's what these are. You see this? And this brings these limbs down. They prop that in there, and it's got a little nail in the end of that spreader. You see that? A little nail there, so they put that in there. They can prop that in there, and what that does is when the trees are younger, that pulls these limbs down into at about a 45-degree angle. If you don't do that, the limbs will just grow straight up, and the tree stays in a vegetative state rather than a productive state. So when you start bringing these limbs down, then they start to set fruit. Then they go into a productive state. So these trees were full of those old spreader nails. The nails, the spreaders rot and fall out after 20 years or whatever, however long, but the nail stays in the limb. And these old trees, oh, if you ever get a chance to miss grafting a 30-40-year-old apple block, well, take advantage of that, because these old trees are absolutely full of those spreader nails. And we were cutting, of course, at that time we were cutting it off here, we were cutting it off here, getting ready to make the graft. So we were in this old apple wood where those spreaders had been. I can tell there's been one right there. It's black, where the nail has rusted and left a little residue on the wood. So you can't see them, and you chainsaw, and you might be able to cut 10 trees before you hit one, but probably you're going to hit one the first 2 or 3 trees out. And I had to pay Robo Frank to stand at the tailgate of the pickup right over here and sharpen chains all day long. And I think it was myself and Jorge chainsawing, maybe. Victor was grafting. Victor Jr. might have been in on that. Anyway, we'd go back and forth. As soon as he could get his saw sharp, we'd have another one down. And I burned up about 4 chains that day. Paid the guy to stand there at the truck all day, or however many hours we were out here cutting these down, because you cut 2 trees and bam, there goes your chain. So we'd have to go and he'd swap out the chain or sharpen them. He was going as fast as he could. I had about 6 saws out here, and we just kept swapping them out. We'd go set one down and grab another one and take off again. And like I said, you might get lucky and cut 5 trees before you hit a nail, or it might be your very first cut, and that happened too. So that can take the profit out of a job. When you're bidding these grafting jobs, if you're doing the chainsaw work, which we always do the final cut, because we have to choose the best area to make the graft. We're choosing a nice smooth place on the bark that doesn't have knots, and if their guys do it oh, they'll cut right through that and think nothing of it because they don't know. So we know what we're looking for. We always do the final cut, and then that just leaves them a little stick of firewood to pick up when we're done. But the saw work can make or break a job. You have to bid it right, because these old trees take twice as long to cut, and you got more cuts per tree, and you have to factor all that in and figure the cost of the chainsaw work, and you have to bid that. You have to include that in your bid, and you better get pretty good at it too, because it'll kill you. If you don't, you'll lose money on the job. And I don't know if I lost money on this job, but it wasn't good because I had to pay that one guy all day long just to sharpen saws, and that was an added cost that we wouldn't normally have in a job. But anyway, yeah, all part of the experience. All right, I'm gonna suit up and show up and fire up my Husky. I got a good sharp saw this morning. I'm looking forward to it. I love the chainsaw.
And now it's story time with Uncle Waylon.
I got a little chainsaw story. Many years ago, when Victor first started working with us, he'd been working with us a little while, but he had been working in the grapes in California and didn't know a whole lot about the orchard grafting yet. He might have been with us 5 years. So yeah, maybe, almost 30 years ago this happened. The guy who was kind of in charge when I wasn't in the field, he sent Victor to get some saw gas. We had a 5-gallon can, well, a big can, actually it holds 6 gallons. So, and we buy the saw mix in to mix 5 gallons. So you dump that 5-gallon, or the saw mix, in the can, and then put 5 gallon in, and by the time you get back to the field, that's all mixed up and you're ready to go. And the guy sent Victor to go get gas, but he didn't explain that to him, and wasn't thinking about it, and just assumed that Victor knew, like we all know what assume does. But bottom line is my business and it's my responsibility. But I wasn't there, and so he sent Victor to get the gas, and Victor went and put the chainsaw mix in and brought the gas back, and I had 2 brand new 242 XP saws, brand new, and they filled one of them up and started it up and it revved a few times, and then it seized up. So they set it down and filled the other saw up, started it up, and ran about 3 or 4 minutes, and it seized up. And what happened was Victor had filled that can up. He put 6 gallons in it. So instead of mixing 50 to 1, it was way too lean. So that's when Victor learned how many gallons you're supposed to mix with a can of saw mix. And we still joke about it, I'll say, how much gas you gonna put in that can, Victor? So anyway, that's one of my little chainsaw stories. But the one time, I guess, ever that the insurance company finally paid for something, they covered those saws. I had those saws listed on my shop equipment, and I'm not sure why they paid for it, because they don't like to pay for anything, but they did, and ordered in some new cylinders and popped them in, and had my new 242 XPs back. So it all worked out. Just a little saw story. All right, I'm gonna shut up and fire up. Okay, over there yesterday we were putting on Granny Smith, so those trees went from red to Honeycrisp to Granny Smith, and these trees are going from red to Honeycrisp to Cosmic Crisp, 2 rows, and then 3 rows will be Evercrisp. So we're going from Honeycrisp to Evercrisp. That Evercrisp is a really good apple to it. It's got a long shelf life, and it's just a good eating apple. When I mention speed sprayer, that's what I'm talking about. That big fan puts that material right up the top of the tree. Take a little off the end in case there's some dieback, or this wood might dry out a little bit on this exposed cut here. So take a little off the end just to make sure we're into some nice fresh wood. Taking great care to move my fingers out of the way. Apples are very forgiving. You can graft apples and just get away with a lot. They're not hard to graft. We always joke is you just throw a stick at the tree and it'll graft, it'll take. So they're pretty easy to do. Compatibility is good between varieties. I don't know of any compatibility issues with apples. You can pretty much put anything on anything. If you have an apple tree in your backyard, you could put 20 or 30 varieties on it, whatever you have room for. 100 if you got a big enough tree. This is Granny Smith wood right here. Granny Smith is a good baking apple. You see me bend that wood. That's because where that starts to bend, where that gets rubbery, that's where we stop, because these upper buds are not mature, so we don't use that part of the wood. And one like this I'm going to take quite a bit off because it's just too big. It needs to be smaller to lay down flat on the trunk. So quite a bit of that off. Use about a 6-inch length, whatever's handy to hold on to cut, make the graft and make that cut. And then you wind up you have about try to have 3 buds exposed. That way you get plenty of shoots to choose from when you start training the tree, choosing your primary scaffolds, tying and training. I'm going to cut a little bit more of this Granny just to make sure Victor has enough to finish up over here. He's got about 4 rows left over there. So he says he's close, but I'm going to cut a half a bucket here just to so that he doesn't have to stop grafting just to cut wood. You have to be very, very particular with cherry sign wood. It has to be the right stuff, but apples, you can get away with using pretty small wood, as long as it's good. See, this is a small piece here, but it's nice and stiff. There's a good, it's little, but it's good hardened off wood. I'm going to demonstrate something for you here. I'm going to show you why I'm cutting off that large wood, why we can't use it if it's too big. I'm going to make a piece here just for demonstration purposes, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, why we can't use that big stuff on small limbs. Okay, I'm going to try and show this. Don't know if this is going to focus. I really can't tell. I think it is, but anyway, there's a really dark, up here you can see there's a real dark line between the bark and the hardwood, and that's the cambium layer, and that has to match up with the cambium or come in contact with the cambium on the understock or the tree trunk in order for the graft to take. I see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little line across the wood. That's called a track, as my knife is tracking. That means there's some little tiny little spot on my blade that's leaving this track on the wood, and I need to put this blade on the razor hone and get rid of that. But what I'm talking about, reason I'm having to cut some of that bigger wood off, if you try to lay this, this has to lay flat. You can see how straight and true that cut is, and that's what you need to do a good graft. You have to kind of practice that and get a nice smooth straight cut. But that has to lay flat on the wood in order for this cambium to touch on each side. And if you've got a small diameter limb and you use too big a piece of wood, well, then that cambium's going to touch in the middle, or the wood's going to touch in the middle, but the cambium's going to set up off the wood on the outer edges. And I don't know if I have a limb here. I'll try to find a way to demonstrate that to you. I think I can do it right here. I'm not even going to cut the bark. I'm just going to try to make some shade here and show you. But you can see, if this is laying, if it's a small limb and a large piece of graft wood, when you put that up there and you think it's laying flat, well, that outer edge where the cambium is setting up off the wood. I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit to show you, but you can see what I mean. That has to lay down flat on the wood. So on small limbs, you need a small piece of wood. If you've got a real narrow piece of wood, that'll lay down flat on the wood. But if you've got a wide piece, you can see it sits up off the wood. And that's a no-no. That's not going to take. So, it's not rocket surgery, but you kind of have to know what you're doing. And old Victor knows what he's doing. Okay, I think I've demonstrated that, why you need to have the smaller pieces for small wood. Now that'll lay down fine on a large piece of wood. If it's this size, then that's going to lay down flat. You pull that bark up, that'll lay flat on the wood. That'll lay nice and flat right there. You can see that. But on a smaller limb, it wouldn't. So that's why we're cutting that big stuff off the end. Well, folks, I want to say thank you for stopping by and checking out my channel. If you enjoyed this video, maybe you could tell someone else about it. If you did not enjoy it, well, maybe you could tell me about it, and hopefully together we can learn how to make better videos. As always, if you have any questions, if there's anything I can help you with, please feel free to contact me. You can ask questions in the comments, or you can email me, and I'll be happy to help you in any way I can. Thanks. See you soon. No chickens were harmed or barbecued in the making of this video. There was no foul play.